Good afternoon. Welcome to Burning Tree Program Spotlight. My name is Eric Button. I do family support work for us and business development. Burning Tree Programs is a ethical, family-owned treatment program founded by David Elliott back in 1999. David Elliott's initial program is Burning Tree Ranch outside of Dallas in Kaufman. Burning Tree Ranch is dedicated to the chronic relapsing man or woman who have had several attempts at sobriety and have failed. Long-term means 8 to 14 months of residential treatment with a year of transitions. In 2004, David created Burning Tree Lodge, which was rebranded and is now known as Renewal Lodge by Burning Tree. It is a clinically advanced mindfulness approach to the 12 steps. It is an in-network provider with all major insurance companies in the United States, 30, 60 days. Earlier this year, David teamed up with Jessica and Josh Slay to create or reopen Awakenings Hill Country, which is in Fredericksburg, Texas, in the Hill Country. It is an all-women's substance use disorder treatment center with a trauma focus, 12 steps, and they are also an in-network provider. And David found his path of freedom in Tucson, Arizona, and we have a young adult program called Burning Tree West, about 1.5 miles east of the University of Arizona, and it's a young adult program with a collegiate track. So, very honored today. Burning Tree has always been about long-term residential treatment, and what better organization than to introduce Alina Lodge, which has been helping their students, male and female students, since 1957, when Geraldine Delaney created Alina Lodge, and William Robbins is their executive director. He's a licensed clinical social worker. He's been with Alina for 8 years, and we're very honored to have you on Spotlight today.
Thanks, Eric. Good to be with you.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Appreciate it.
I wanted to share something with everybody. The other day when I called to check in with you and your organization, and I've always admired what Alina Lodge does, the benchmark of ethical long-term residential treatment. They're right in the same lane with us. And when you shared with me that you were on the campus for 5 or 6 weeks during this period of time in our country, I told myself that is a leader leading his troops. How was it being on campus for that period of time, helping your team?
Yeah, I think it was both exciting to a certain degree. It was the fluidity of COVID-19 was just happening so rapidly that policies and procedures, I'm sure our treatment center is no different than anyone else, policies and procedures that you put in place one afternoon literally changed by the next morning. And so I made the determination that it would be beneficial to be here, and we have the ability to have me live on campus. So I moved myself in like a student. Some of the students certainly got a kick out of it. Ate dinner with them, responded in some ways like our students do, and it allowed me to really be here, be ever present. There was a lot of fear going on, a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainties. And then the other reality was that rather than commute back and forth to my family, my wife, and my 2 kids, it allowed me to also have some distance from them. And so there was a protective feature to that as well. But it certainly, my commute was great. It went from just under an hour to about 30 seconds. And it allowed me to really connect with the staff a lot more and our students as well.
Well, Alina Lodge has a lot of history, a lot of heritage. Tell me, we know that Geraldine Delaney created it in 1957. How did she come about connecting with God and finding the location in Blairstown, and how'd they come up with Alina?
So she was working for another agency doing some really important work. And she was in the program herself. And so she knew Bill W. and Lois. Got involved with two different people, a gentleman by the name of Al Silverman, and then a woman by the name of Ina. So Al and Ina is how we got Alina. And she was business partners of theirs, and then Ina suddenly died, and Mrs. Delaney was thrust into the day-to-day CEO and really contributing to the everything about this place, the philosophy, the operations, the raising money. She did it all.
So Alina Lodge has continued the heritage of long-term residential treatment for your students. Tell us the benefits. What does long-term treatment provide the client or student?
I think, and the student piece comes from Mrs. Delaney, who said that the men and women that are here to learn how to live sober. So much like a student, they're here to learn. The greatest thing that time and long-term work affords the individual is time for their brain to heal. All of the modern imaging of brains in the last couple of decades really speak to Mrs. Delaney being ahead of her time, because she knew that time was an important factor, and yet she didn't have the science behind it, Eric, and yet the evidence was there. The longer people stayed in treatment, the seemingly better they did. And so the benefit for men and women trying to be sober is that they have the time for their brain to really heal. And so we know that chronic substance use impacts the prefrontal cortex. It's the part of the brain responsible for judgment and reasoning and thinking and all those critical parts of decision making that are so overwhelming for people in early recovery. And so the ability to be here on our campus, to begin to really heal, and then to begin to implement sober behavior and look at some of the underlying dynamics that impacted people's drinking and using substances is really a benefit, because then they get a chance to heal, learn some skills, and then practice those skills in the safety of our campus before then transitioning back out to the community.
Yeah. So I also know that you guys are one of the industry leaders or field leaders in your work with your families. Tell us about what a family gets to go through when they have a loved one or a student at Alina Lodge.
Yeah, we actually started, I believe, the first residential program for families in the country decades ago. And so there's multi-pronged impact with our families. So there's a ton of need for education. We start our families really before our student even becomes admitted to us by doing a lot of education for the families, explaining what our program's about, explaining the disease and addiction, telling them what they can expect. We always start out with an intervention. We bring families on campus. Historically, we've been doing a lot of Zoom now, where we can really assess the family strengths and weaknesses, provide education, bring their loved one into the treatment room, and have a conversation about the impact of addiction, what can be expected, where the family system is at. And then we have continuous dialogue with family over the weeks and months that a student is with us, including then them being able to visit on Sundays when it's clinically appropriate, and ultimately doing some family work where then the families actually come on to campus and stay with us. And they'll stay anywhere from a day to 3 or 4 days. And sometimes, depending on the family dynamics, we'll have people come back 2 or 3 times. You might have to do some work within a couple, and then bring other family of origin family members into the program to do some family work. So it's really a number of different ways that we address the work with the family, but is incredibly, incredibly important. Our founder, Mr. Delaney, said that a family can undo in 5 minutes what it took us 5 months to put together.
Right. Say that again, because that's a very important piece.
A family can undo in 5 minutes what it has taken us to put together in 5 months, right? So,
Yeah.
so families quickly go back to those old dynamics that they're just so used to, and they're often struggle to see some of the dysfunction, how it can either support the addiction or support recovery. And so, it's really our most the most success we have are the families that are willing to do things different and really support recovery and really change themselves, often before the student is willing to do so.
Bill, I really like saying we get to create a relationship with the family, which then in turn allows us to walk down a path and create the excitement of what it really is to have freedom in their lives. And it's not only the student or the client, but it's the family, and they're just like us addicts and alcoholics. They need to have tangible results for them to buy in, to want more of those results. So
Right.
you guys help facilitate that.
Correct. And we know there's a parallel process. The powerlessness, the unmanageability that an individual experiences from chronic substance use is the same thing that families struggle with. And they're emotionally exhausted, they're scared, they're hopeless at times. And I really think that the work that we do with families allows for the very changes that you're talking about. And there's nothing like seeing hope within a student's eyes, in their behavior and how they're approaching life here, and then seeing the same parallel with families. I mean, there's nothing greater for me. I mean, the work is remarkable.
So how did William Robbins and Alina Lodge connect?
So it was just over 8 years ago. I was working in an outpatient facility. I had started my career in residential in New York. And I was very frustrated with the limitations of a shorter outpatient model. And I happened to be talking with a former colleague who was at Alina Lodge at the time, and I was really talking about where I was, being stuck at being at an outpatient facility. And he started describing what he was doing with the students at Alina from a clinical perspective. And I lamented. I said, gosh, I wish I could work at a place like that. And he said, ironically, someone just left last week. So my predecessor, Michael Hornstein, who was executive director here for 10 years and has been associated with the lodge for over 30. He had my resume by week's end, and I was in for an interview, and then I was on board. I've loved it ever since. From the first moment I stepped foot on these grounds, there's a peacefulness here and a tranquility, and I just love the approach that we take to working with men and women. That we really ask them to do hard work, and it's really about looking at self and changing and walking through that fear, and we do it lovingly and supportive. But it's incredible to be just a piece of someone's journey and the family's journey from active addiction to sobriety. I don't know if there's anything as rewarding and as profound about that transformation and just being a piece of it.
William or Bill, the other piece that I keep thinking about, seeing you and just thinking about Alina Lodge being around since 1957, the facility that I get to represent and where I found my freedom at Burning Tree, we've been around since '99. But the value, the financial and spiritual and emotional value that a family and their loved one receives in the long-term program far exceeds the high expense that so many of these families are spending on 30, 60, 90-day treatment, a little bit more, and their loved one and their family can experience long-term treatment. Is that sometimes frustrating for you as it is for me, that people aren't investing in as much in the long term?
It is, but it's sadly the way that our society looks to approach things. We're a group of men and women across our nation that want things quicker and faster and easier, and and there's certainly the cost of treatment is a piece of it, and families needing to go through insurance to pay for quality treatment, and insurance does not pay for long-term treatment. They don't see the value in it. Um, I think it's a travesty,
Yeah.
actually, Eric, that men and women are not afforded more time. I mean, we know from all the science that the craving and the obsession to use goes on for months. And so to have someone go through a 28-day program and step away from their drink or drug and simply go back to and return to similar stressors, it's remarkable that people are able to stay sober at all coming out of a 28-day place. And listen, there are people that are working at those places that are trying to help people, and it's a beautiful thing. I've had the benefit of seeing long-term work, and the real benefit of some time away from a drink or drug, and what that can do, and the freedom that you talk about that's really on the other side of even just the obsession to use and the craving, the physiological craving that kind of goes along with it. When we see that, lift, and that often takes months before there's really that shift. And then the spiritual piece is just the next, it's the next level of seeing someone, move from fear and self-centeredness and isolation and all those kind of parts of active addiction, and be open and be honest and take responsibility and be of service to others. Really work on acceptance, work through their resentment. I mean, it's really just remarkable that spiritual transformation that can really take place when you give someone, time.
I keep thinking, you've been at Alina for 8 years. I know you have several employees there that are long-term employees.
We have some people here that are decades and decades. We have a gentleman here, Jerry Gunnels, that was our clinic director for a while, just moved into a new position, a senior clinical advisor. He's been here almost 37 years. We have one of our nurses just announced that she's going to be stepping down to part-time. She's been here over 3 decades. We have several administrative staff that have been here 30 years plus.
Yeah.
And it says a lot about the family atmosphere of what this place is about. I think for many of us, there's no other place to be. It's really it's a calling.
That speaks volumes about the leadership, the heritage that was created by Geraldine Delaney. I also want you to know that I really enjoy seeing you guys on social media, and you celebrate your employees, employee of the month. I love seeing that. It puts a face on the people that are helping bring about change. So I want you to hear that. It means a lot to me to see you guys celebrating your employees. And
so we do that every month. We do that every month at the senior level, and it's so hard because every month we say, well, we have so many people just doing phenomenal things. It almost is difficult to choose. But yeah, we like to celebrate people, and listen, we have a ton of men and women here that are just really dedicated to our mission. We're a nonprofit, agency, and we're mission driven, and we have people that really, love being here.
So you mentioned Alina Lodge being a not-for-profit. I know that you guys have a picnic coming up. Is it the 18th of June?
It's June 13th, Saturday the 13th.
June 13th.
To a virtual picnic.
Yes, that'll be new.
It'll be new. Disappointing because the connection, it's really a wonderful yearly gathering of alumni. It's our biggest fundraiser. We're encouraging people that are listening to participate virtually. We'll do some raffles, and we have some exciting new clinical initiatives coming up in the next month or two that we're going to be speaking about. And for your listeners, I'll give the little teaser. We're excited to introduce some new clinical parts to our program, and really with the goal of helping more people in any way we can, sustain sobriety. And so we encourage anyone that's available on the 13th to tune in, and you can check us out on all of our different social medias to find out the information.
Well, I'm tuning in. I'm buying some raffle tickets. I've been up there 2 times for the picnic. It's quite an event. We're very fond. You have a team member on your staff, Heather Ferris, who I'm very fond of, and I love the connection. We're both in the same lane of providing long-term care to people to have a life of abundance. We're family owned, very ethical, and I can't thank you enough, Bill, for taking the time to come on Burning Tree Spotlight. And we're so honored to showcase you and all the wonderful people and the mission of Alina Lodge.
Well, Eric, I thank you as always. I love you. It's good talking to you. And hopefully when all this lifts, we'll be able to see each other in person.
Yeah, and congratulations on your expansion or your shift more clinically, or new clinical avenues.
Yeah, we'll be putting those out publicly in the next month.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Bill. Have a great evening.
Take care.
Bye. Wow. Hashtag long-term works. Burning Tree Programs has been around since 1999. We're family owned, very ethical treatment. Burning Tree Ranch is outside of Dallas and Kaufman, Texas. We work with men and women that are deemed chronic relapsers. Average length of stay is 8 to 14 months with a year of transitions. Renewal Lodge by Burning Tree is in Elgin, Texas, about 23 miles east of Austin. It is a clinically advanced mindfulness approach to the 12 steps. It is an in-network provider with just about all U.S.-based health insurance providers. New to the family is Awakenings Hill Country, headed up by Jessica and Josh Slay. They're in Fredericksburg, Texas. They are a program for women, helping women. They have a huge 12-step trauma-focused approach to freedom for their ladies. It's women helping women. And Tucson, Arizona is where our founder and owner, David Elliott, found his path of freedom. Burning Tree West is a young adult program and has a collegiate track. And it also has some sober living environment for men and women. So give us a call. And again, thank you so much, William Robbins, for being on Burning Tree Program Spotlight. Have a blessed day.